Okay, that brings us to topic number two, man, which is very interesting because as we started the show talking about pitching, there is some more pitching that the Red Sox would like to acquire, and several pundits, several of those with an industry knowledge of transactional things, are feeling like the Red Sox could be one of the front runners in line to receive the White Sox ace Garrett Crochet. So, how likely is it that the Red Sox, you think, acquire Garrett Crochet? Because everything that I'm reading today, it feels like this is almost a foregone conclusion because of the Red Sox loaded farm system. I think I read something somewhere where one general manager stated to one of the reporters on the beat that the Red Sox could trade for anybody in Major League Baseball because of how stacked kind of their prospects are. What do you think about the likelihood of
Yeah,
this actually happening?
yeah. I mean, I think there's ultimately a good shot. I think the Red Sox have put themselves in a great situation where they have these prospects. Credit to Hein Bloom for building up the system the way he did, and obviously the names are for them, Mike Rickard, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that regime is given enough credit for the guys that they developed, be it Jaron Duran, Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford. And these were guys that were late round picks, right? So you have to sort of be in the weeds and sort of be on the scouting scene to really be able to pick a guy like Jaron Duran or pick a guy like Tanner Houck. But with that said, with the Dombrowski regime that had prospects, because I don't think that group gets enough credit for having the prospects that they do have that are good at the major league level, Brian Bayo included, to now having this second tier of prospects that are high round picks because the Red Sox weren't that good in the years leading up to this season, or they weren't even good this season. They were sort of the last in the AL East, and we all know the record and stuff. So they had these high picks, and I think now you're looking at a team that is benefiting from this, and the industry is they sort of pique the curiosity of the industry. Look, I don't know if the Red Sox are going to ultimately go out there and do this. They have shown they've been risk averse in years past, and in times when you said, "Are they okay?" They said, "No, we're not risk averse. We're gonna be in it. We're gonna go all in. We're gonna be a part of this next year and be a part of the mix." And then they don't do anything. So yes, they have the prospects to get this guy, but what do you want to give up? And I think it's going to cost you probably a Wilyer Abreu, a Cutter Crawford, and maybe somebody else, down in the system. And I think ultimately that's what you're going to have to get for front of the line starters because they don't have any front of the line starters. And additionally, I think Crochet, while he has 3 more years of control left, right? So
Which
it's
is
not like you're
appealing.
getting a guy. It's appealing. However, he only has 219 innings pitched.
Yeah,
So it's
unproven,
also like
certainly.
unproven, right? In terms of injury, he had the Tommy John surgery in 2022, which kept him out. Only pitched a couple outings in the following season, 23. This was the first season where he's a full time starter. Before that, he was a reliever. So obviously the stuff is there, but the production. Not no, I'm not gonna say the production, but the sort of the what is it?
The
Sample
consistency,
size.
right,
The
it's
sample
small.
size is not there.
Doing it year over
So
year.
we
Yeah,
gotta
he certainly hasn't done that.
So we got to look at that too. But I look, that's ultimately a move you have to make. You're already very left-handed heavy. You're gonna have to part ways with somebody, right? And
Yeah.
that's just the way it works. That's just the way. That's just the way. And I don't think the Red Sox have done that in the years past. But now they're in a position to do so because they have proven major leaguers on the roster, and now they have the group of guys that have proven themselves at the minor league level.
Well, as you talked about, the previous
Maybe you
regime,
throw a
maybe not.
Vaughn Grissom in there too. You know,
Just
like
everybody.
May, maybe you throw Vaughn Grissom. Maybe it's Wilyer, Vaughn, and Cutter, right? And
So three
because
big leaguers for
if
one return. That's how
if
big you're
Vaughn
going to
comes out
trade
this
for Garrett
year,
Crochet.
if Vaughn comes out this year and has a bad year, his his trade stock is at the floor, right? It's in the basement, sub basement, I'll say, um, because he can't afford to have another year like this now. But right
Yeah.
now, you can say, hey, he's still 22, 23 years old. He got sick. in spring training, coming out of spring training, had the hamstring issues. That's not really the player that you guys see. And there's still some
Yeah.
value there. He can go to
Yeah.
Chicago, be in a place where it's not as much pressure. He can figure it out. And, he's hit at every level. And he even hit at the major league level toward the end of the season.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. I was going to
like I
say.
said, you're gonna have to give up somebody for this to work.
I just don't see it as being three big leaguers. That seems like a hefty haul for Garrett Crochet. As you mentioned, just like the stuff is great. Like we've seen this dude pitch against the Red Sox and he was
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, the Red Sox, they can strike out with the best of them, that's for sure, but especially the team that they put together last year. But I mean, this dude was just carving up this lineup. He was incredible. And this was a series, if I recall correctly, that they needed to win. And you felt like they were going to go in there and take 3 out of 4, and they end up splitting this series with the White
That
Sox.
was
And
the one
almost
in back in, was that
it
June?
was yes, and it was almost one that they
It
almost
was at
lost three
Chicago
games to one in
or
Chicago.
May.
Yes, Garrett Crochet pitched.
Hmm.
There was a walk off in there somewhere, if I recall correctly. But they split this series. Felt like, all right, well, that wasn't what we intended to come here to do. We needed to take 3 out of 4, but partly they almost won the series because of the way Garrett Crochet pitched and the way everybody else had pitched in that series. Andrew Benintendi was hitting as well. He started to come around. His offense became alive. But I think as you look at the Red Sox roster and see what pieces maybe they can part with from the major league standpoint, they got 4 actual guys who play the outfield strictly, no other positions really. That's Abreu, that's Duran, that's Rev Snyder, and that's Masataka Yoshida, who hardly got but one outfield rep or in a game, I think last season, and that's a guy who has been maybe discussed as possibly them parting ways with because of the farm system and guys that they come up with, but they'll be having to eat some salary there. But you got Emmanuel Valdez, who played some outfield last year. Said,
That's a 4A guy, dog.
okay,
That's
but
a
I'm just
4A guy.
saying, guys who can play the position. I'm just pointing out if you feel like, hey, we got to backfill this, if we have to get rid of maybe one of our
You mean
big
you
pieces
mean
like an
breathe at the
Abreu.
position?
Yes. Okay. Well, you
Breathe,
said it,
breathe
not
there.
me. So, Sedan Rafaela.
Pulse at the position.
So they got him as well.
Okay, yeah, he can play there.
Romy Gonzalez has played some outfield, as well as Nick Sogard, who played some outfield and mostly infield um, towards the end of last season. But you got those guys. Plus, you got the prospects coming up. I guess my point is being that you have a lot of logjam in the outfield, so you can get rid of maybe an outfielder if you're looking to acquire
Respectfully,
Crochet.
I, I don't think the White Sox are going to trade their best starter that they've had in probably since Giolito for a guy in Romy Gonzalez that they DFA'd. Like I
I'm
just,
not saying
I
I'm not,
just
no. I'm not saying that Romy will be on the trading block. I'm saying these are guys
dude,
who can maybe
like
give you 10 starts there over the course of 162. But the main outfielders are Abreu,
okay, I
Duran,
got you,
Ref
I got
Snyder.
you, I got you, I got
You
you.
know what I mean? Those are your three right now. With Sedan mixing in there as well as um, uh, yeah, I guess as well as Yoshida possibly playing there. But I'm just saying what they probably would have to give up in order to acquire Crochet, which I think is definitely going to be a major leaguer, probably a top 100 prospect, and then maybe a throw-in guy as well to try and get some frontline pitching. But if Garrett Crochet is traded for, does he immediately become your ace? I mean, take into consideration that
Yeah,
Lucas Giolito is
yeah.
coming back.
I
You
mean,
got possible
I
Garrett
think you have
Whitlock
something
also in the
intriguing.
rotation.
No, 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 no. Yeah, he's above Garrett Whitlock. I think Whitlock is going to be in ultimately be in the bullpen.
You do.
I think that, and I think he's better served there. Yeah, absolutely. I think the injuries have sort of played a role in that, and I think that they just need to get him healthy. Look, he signed that deal, which I thought was a good deal for the Red Sox because it's like, hey, if he's a good starter, then you get him at a bargain, and he can stay healthy. But if he's not, then he's on a sort of still a team friendly deal. But he was a lights out reliever in 21. And I think the part
Yeah.
of issues with Garrett is that he just hasn't. I know this isn't about Garrett Whitlock, but part of the issues with Garrett is that he just has been sort of jumping back and forth between starter and reliever. And then
Yeah.
when he sees the starter, he gets hurt. So I think ultimately you got to put him back in the bullpen. But look, with Crochet, I think that I mean, it does become your best starter. But also, I think that you still need to go out there and get an ace. I still think an ace. I still think they need to establish who this organization is through free agency as well, and that means going out and getting Max Fried, going out and getting a Blake Snell, going out and getting somebody. You know, even if you go to the middle part, Jack Flaherty. I'm not going to say he's an ace, but you're building out a roster and a pitching staff
Right.
that's respectable versus getting guys just always on
Established big
upside.
leaguers. Right.
Um,
Exactly. No, for
you know,
sure.
so I do think that they need to go out there like, yeah, get a Crochet, but that it shouldn't stop there. Like you get Crochet, somebody like Max Fried, and then you get Teoscar Hernandez or somebody like that, and you just put that team together on the field next year. That's a pretty good ball club, right? Like you're talking about a rotation of say Cutter Crawford's not a part of it, but the top three of Freed, Hauk, in not in any order, and Crochet, right? And I think if you look at that and you say, hey, this can get us to the postseason. Yeah, it can get you to the postseason. And you know what? You only need about good two or three good starters in the postseason because
Yeah. Once you
everything
get there.
becomes such like you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
Dodgers got to a point where they had Yamamoto, Bueller, and Flaherty. And Flaherty wasn't even pitching that well, but Yamamoto and Bueller were lights out. And then they
Yeah.
just figured out the rest of it. So I think you got to look at that situation, or even the Yankees, right? Cole, Rondon, um, Schmidt, maybe a number
Yeah.
three,
Clark
four,
Schmidt. Yeah.
five, probably a five. So you know, but you gotta have, but those first two guys gotta be lights out guys, and so you can't stop at
Yeah.
Crochet. You gotta go out and get a free to somebody like that,
Yeah. I mean, considering what the Red Sox did last year with
or
their
like you
starting
said,
rotation.
Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
I know his
Who was
strikeout rate
also
is going down, but he's a dog.
Yeah, and
He's a
the
pit bull.
Orioles
Like,
also issued a qualifying offer to him, so that'll be attached with some draft compensation, which kind of, for some teams at least, kind
yeah,
of runs them off the scent a little bit because of
yeah,
people love their prospects, they
yeah,
love their draft picks as they go down. But as you talked about, as we talked about, if Nick Pivetta accepts his qualifying offer, that's 21 million off of I think the 60 million that they have to play with before they reach over the luxury tax. So that would definitely impact some of those plans potentially, but we'll see how that all plays out. But Garrett Crochet coming to the Red Sox seems like it could be a real possibility.